Hey guys, it's Tim with Tabletop Terrors. I wanted to do a quick video because as a channel, we've hit a milestone, 100 subscribers. And 100 might not be a lot to some, but for me, it was my personal goal to try to hit 100 subscribers by the end of this year. And so, hey, $100 might not be a lot to some people, but it's a fortune to others. Well, 100 subscribers is a fortune to me. So thank you. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to list off 100 things. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. I actually have an interesting idea. I'm going to actually talk to you about the timelines of D&D. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, dude, what's your obsession with time, the passage of time? And this is totally different. In a moment, I'm going to talk to you about the different editions and what year it is in those editions in D&D proper. So we'll give you a couple of ways that you can apply that to your campaign, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, so 100 subscribers, here we go. All right, the first thing is you might be asking yourself, well, why? What does this matter? Who cares? First, I'm going to give you some interesting facts just about the official time in the D&D world. But then I'm going to give you something that I thought was cool as far as an interesting concept as far as applying this to your campaign and actually using this for something useful. So one other thing we need to talk about. This is specifically about Faerun, or the Forgotten Realms, meaning that's the timeline I'm talking about. I know that there are other ones. There's Greyhawk, there's Dragonlance, things like that. I'm specifically talking about Faerun because it's the current campaign setting that is living and breathing in D&D as we know it. So, one final disclaimer. I don't typically like to read on videos. It's my personal preference. I don't think people like listening to people read. But for this video, there are going to be parts that I will read just because it's numbers and specific dates. So that's my disclaimer there. So without further ado, here's the timeline of Faerun as it relates to the different editions, and then an interesting concept that I think is pretty cool. So here we go. So the year markers. The year markers in the Forgotten Realms, it's really confusing and a little weird. The way that it works is that each city or each region has different names for the year. So the same way that we call January a month, they would maybe call, September would be the whole year. But every region does it differently, and they call it methods of reckoning. And that's just what they do. So for the purposes of this video, I'm actually going to use the city of Dale. They call it Dale Reckoning. So it's DR. That's just what I'm specifically going to use in this video. So jumping in, let's start with the first edition of D&D and what year it is DR. Okay, so this is the part where I'm reading, so forgive me here. Original Dungeons & Dragons, the very first edition, the year is 1357 DR, or Dale Reckoning. Okay, so that's the first edition. Jumping into the second edition, or Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, the year is 1370 DR, or Dale Reckoning. Going into third edition, the year is 1372 DR. Now you jump into fourth edition, they skipped a whole bunch of time. It's actually 1479 DR. So pretty huge jump. Fifth edition, I looked around and I couldn't find officially what it was, but I'm thinking it's 1484 DR, or Dale Reckoning. The reason why I think this is because they just finished a novel series called The Sundering. You've probably seen a ton of stuff about it. Read it. It's awesome. But it was like a multimedia event and a novel series, and that actually wrapped up. It kind of tied up fourth edition, and that's, I think, when that novel ended. So 1484 DR is where we are now. So hold on with me. If this is all boring to you, I'm getting somewhere with it. First of all, I thought it was kind of an interesting fact. So if you wanted to set your campaign in a different time period, you could, knowing what year it was in what editions. But now for the second part. This is something that I thought was a cool idea. I told my brother about it. We had a long conversation, and it spawned a bunch of campaign ideas. So here we go. So here's the idea. What if you took, well, the reason why I had this idea is because I was looking at the first drawing of a beholder, the monster, a beholder. I was looking at it and I thought, man, that thing looks so different versus the current cover of the new monster manual. And then it dawned on me and I thought, what if that's what they used to look like? Right? So in other words, we talk about it, monster manual art. We're like, oh, I like that picture. I like that rendering of it. But what if the different E's, first edition, second edition, what if they're not editions? But what if we flip that around and we actually make it eras? First era, that's what a beholder looked like. That's what it looked like. And then over the course, 1357, 1370, by the time 1479 rolled around in 4th edition, beholders had mutated, through the magical weave and all the different things that are going on in the world. I mean, you could even say that they've evolved based on having to get stronger and more fierce because of adventurers, So instead of thinking it as additions and, oh, that picture from that and that, actually think that's what they used to look like. I thought it would be really interesting and cool. What if you had an event in your campaign world that had a rip in the time continuum and you actually had your party fight what looked like a first edition beholder? And that's what it looks like. And they fight it, and you can even try to convert the stats. You can use the current stats. I probably would try to somehow convert the old stats and keep the flavor text and all that similar. But I thought, the same way as human beings, in our society and culture, you can tell when something's from the 70s, and you can tell when something's from the 80s. What if, in our campaign world, we mark different things by the different eras? So 4th era. This is 5th era, but you've got 2nd era, 1st era. Anyway, I thought it was kind of a neat idea to see the monsters and what they were. And, if you had like a really old adventurer, if he was describing a beholder, it would look like the first edition drawing. Same thing with like mind flayers or illithids. They've changed a lot. And you could see, like I said, it's literally just like you or I living in society now, how clothing changes, art styles change, color schemes that are popular. I mean, look at, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. Same thing in the eras of Dungeons and Dragons. So that's what I wanted to throw out there. I thought it was a neat idea. I thought you guys would enjoy it, and I hope it helps your campaign. All right, guys, that wraps it up. 100 subscribers. Thanks again. I just can't tell you enough how cool that is for me. So keep it up. Keep watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Something else I wanted to mention. We launched tabletopterrors.com. Some people said it wasn't a great idea. Some people said it was too soon. Well, people are going there. Tabletopterrors.com. People are going there. We got 163 visitors there last week, which again, for some websites, that's nothing. But for me, that's awesome. So I want to let you guys know, coming up here in about a week, we're going to start posting regularly. It's going to be my brother and I. He's the guy that I talk, D&D with the most in my whole life. So, but I just wanted to point that out. I'm not asking for emails. I'm not, asking for anything other than if you like what you see here, go check it out. Go see some of the posts we already have up, and we'll go from there. Like, subscribe. Thank you so much, and we'll see you again soon. Talk to you soon, guys.